Thinking about note taking in the math classroom, I always want to think about what I'm getting from the teacher and the important information the teacher's giving me, but also what am I getting from myself? What do I bring to the table? Teacher always tells me, what do I already know about this problem? And I know, for instance, it's always supposed to be equal to zero. And the teacher said when we're looking at quadratic equations, there's different ways of solving it. Which method would be best here? I like graphing, but I also know factoring is a pretty easy one if I can see that relationship. Quadratic equation I can do, but it's a little bit more difficult. It's a little bit longer and involves a lot more math. So with factoring, I know the -6. I can just look at that and know that 3 times -2 is -6, and -3 times 2 is -6. And then when I add them together, -3 plus 2 gives me -1. So I know that factors and that pattern works. So I'm going to go back to factoring. So that becomes x minus 3 times x plus 2. And then I know I set this factor equal to 0 and this factor equal to 0. Add 3 to both sides. I end up with x equals 3. Subtract 2 from both sides. I end up with x equals -2. And teacher always wants me to think about what do I want to remember when I get done with this? What was the important thing to remember? For me, one of those things was when I put in, substituted back into check, that became 2 times 2 is 4, minus -2. And I sometimes I forget that. So it's 4 minus -2 is 4, but the same as 4 plus 2. And then -6, so I know that's 6 minus 6 and 0, that checks. So really, for this one, the factoring made sense. I kind of went there pretty quickly in my head. I just wrote that down so I would remember those checks, which method to use. And this one worked out really easily. And then when I was checking to remember that 4 minus -2 is 4 plus 2. And the second example, right off the bat, when I go back to that issue of what do I already know, I see there's something different, right? I've got the 4 over here instead of the 0. And so I need to think about what does that mean I need to do. And so in this case, subtract 4 from both sides to get it set equal to 0. I know that whenever I'm solving something, I want them equal to 0. And then which method makes sense? I'm just going to use the quadratic method here because I know I can plug it in. I plug it in, do all my work. That takes a lot of work to get down, but I ended up with the answer of 1 and -3. And that means, gosh, I could have factored that pretty easily. Yeah, -3 is an easy one to factor. Probably should have used factoring. So thinking about that method and choosing the right method makes it easier on me in the long run. So really making sure I go through that progression. That's something I want to remember with quadratic equations. Also remember this idea of checking myself. And then if I could have solved it differently and it would have been easier, make sure I put that in here, right? So I can solve it lots of different ways. I want to make sure I'm being most efficient with my time. So for me, I think about what the interactions are, what my teacher wants me to do, and what helps me remember how to do this next time.